Today's session, we would like to deal with the methods of evangelization. And for this session, I will be reading and reflecting on a passage from the book Catholic Evangelization Today, A New Pentecost for the United States, edited by Kenneth Boyack. Inclusive in this chapter on the methods of evangelization, discussion between 6 American evangelists and Alvin Alig. Uh, uh, the discussion board tries to reflect on the following. With the power of the Holy Spirit, we can find the more effective methods and materials to evangelize communities. Now, with the human assets and liabilities each evangelizer brings to the task, we can depend on Christ's help, but we must take some initiative. We must begin even though we know we are inadequate and our gifts insignificant to the task. So therefore, in designing methods and materials for evangelization, the community to be served must be kept in mind. And for example, the inactive Catholic, the unchurched American, the black community, the Hispanic community. However, when choosing particular tools for evangelization, the charism of the evangelizer is also an extremely important factor. The personality, the uniqueness, the creativity, the sensitivity of the evangelizer must be honored. There is no one style of Catholic evangelization. There are as many styles as there are evangelizers. Such diversity is important because the communities we are trying to reach have a multitude of styles. Each one of us can reach people with Christ's message that others cannot reach. Each one of us using our own special talents, background, education, experience, heritage, language, culture, all working together, build God's kingdom on earth. No one of us can do the task. Working together, however, we can do a great deal. And just as an aside, in our own Catholic community at Sacred Heart, we do recognize the availability of social media outlets like Facebook and online radio, which becomes very significant for us in considering a method of evangelization. The personalities involved, knowing that sometimes the media outlets for us would probably serve primarily as a source of invitation, but also being able to take the next step of actually having a face-to-face dialogue with some of those we are targeting, which for us right now are the inactive Catholics. In addition, the book continues, in addition to the diversity of styles, there must be a multiplicity of methods and materials. One approach will appeal to one person, another approach will appeal to someone else. A multiplicity of methods and materials designed for interpersonal dialogue and for mass communications, for peer-to-peer, personal witnessing, and for the work of national offices can complement one another and more effectively capture the imagination of those we are trying to evangelize. We are to be Catholic in creating methods and materials. We Catholic evangelizers are, for the most part, fairly well educated and somewhat sophisticated, yet we are often dealing with unsophisticated and less well educated people. We must have the courage to design and use very popular, quite simple, and at times fairly emotional approaches to share the gospel. And so we look at the following methods as highlighted in this chapter. And one of the methods which is suggested is that of catechetics. Catechetics can be an effective means of evangelization. The good news is that if you do catechesis well, you are evangelizing in a very real sense. And when we speak about catechesis here, we're talking about the teaching of the church primarily. Consider the outreach to parents that is part of most effective religious education programs. Parents are so concerned that their children have the very best, and they will do almost anything the catechist suggests as helpful for their children. The parent meetings or sacrament preparation programs we have for parents are usually good opportunities for evangelization. Inactive Catholics or others who are not currently involved in a church are ripe for a welcoming person who pays attention to them, challenges them to be the better person they want to be, and helps them in realistic ways with their children. If the sessions simply teach new information or stay on the level of activities, they miss their evangelizing potential. If, on the other hand, they invite the parents to a deeper personal faith response, which they can then share with their children, the new information and the activities are focused and can support ongoing evangelization and conversion in the whole family. In many places, you have the CCD programs designed for children and teenagers that show the concern we instinctively feel for each member of the church. Regardless of age or sacramental experience, these young people need to be evangelized. Parents discussing textbooks for children phrase the question in other terms, but it is the same question. Are the materials we use promoting conversion and leading to personal commitment? Evangelii Nunciandi puts it this way: no one will deny that instruction must be given to form patterns of Christian living and not to remain only notional. That's Article 44 of that letter, Evangelii Nunciandi. It is not enough that texts contain information. They must aid the catechist by challenging the student to community, experience, service, and prayer. So, in a sense, we are beginning to appreciate once again the charismatic gift of teaching. For a good catechist, the act of teaching is prayerful and a work in which the teacher is hearing, learning, and being perfected along with the student. Catechesis is a ministry of the Word, one in which all the actors are receiving and responding to the Spirit who is directing and inspiring. This appreciation of teaching as a gift can be the difference between catechesis, which uses its evangelizing potential, and catechesis, which focuses on an impersonal study of theology or religion. Catechesis is sharing faith, which means personal commitment, conversion, and acceptance for both the catechist and the student. And so catechesis becomes one of the methods we could use to evangelize, especially not just for new comers to the church, but even returning Catholics. A second method of evangelization could be the use of mass media, which plays into some of the programs we are trying to develop at Sacred Heart. The church would stand guilty before our Lord if she did not use these powerful instruments, writes Evangelii Nunciandi, paragraph 45. These strong words of Pope Paul VI urge us to use the media, for through them, as the document states, we can reach the multitudes. In an equally forceful manner, Pope Paul also raises a special media challenge to penetrate the conscience and enter the soul of the individual in all his or her unique individuality. Evangelii Nunciandi addresses two aspects of media: the ability to reach and the ability to inspire. The first speaks of a delivery system, and the second of a process of artistic creation. As delivery systems, our communications media are as efficient as they are myriad. Broadcasting, cablecasting, satellite, phone media, and personal media to quote statistics about the numerous hours that we spend using media would be to underscore a clearly evident fact. I only urge that our use be characterized by a spirit of religious poverty. Uh, Let me explain what I mean. A system of communication which is the major vehicle for expressing ideas, providing social cohesion, and evolving dominant myths has a great responsibility. Our United States communication system, for better or for worse, is commercial and consumer oriented. The forces of the marketplace rule. The trade press reports that today, more than at any other time, our communications policy is one of laissez faire, deregulation, marketplace determination. The result of this policy for us as non commercial, non profit entities is that in media, if you can pay, you can pray. The converse is evident. Pray TV is becoming more and more expensive. In Los Angeles, a half hour on Sunday at 6:30 a.m. cost about $10,000. These high prices for religious ghetto time are a recent phenomenon. They are the result of ever increasing competition among religious broadcasting organizations. Ministries have bid the prices for religious ghetto time upward as they compete against each other for time slots in important markets. This is a trend toward decay. Competing to be the highest bidder in an effort to preach the gospel degenerates the moral power of truth and of love. It is also counter gospel to ignore the plight of people who, having a need to express their particular ideas and values, do not have the possibility of paying the price. I specifically mean minorities, the poor, the disenfranchised. Therefore, I believe it is in the true spirit of our gospel vocation and of our baptismal commitment to ask these questions. Do the poor and marginalized in our communities have access to TV and radio? Does the TV and radio programming schedule reflect their richness? As we use or plan to use media, are our efforts redemptive of the system, or do we play the game in an effort to spread the word? Is the present policy of deregulation in the best interest of peoples who are disenfranchised? Questions like these are our guides to using media with the spirit of religious poverty. Evangelization On CND confronts the second aspect of media, the ability to inspire, with a very special challenge to enter the soul. The future of the United States, and indeed of the world, more and more depends on the state of our collective soul. We are acutely aware of the massive buildup of war weapons. This buildup is possible because we believe more in firepower than we do in the real power of self-giving love. Other aspects of our life in this country also cry out for redemption. The misuse of our environment, prison systems filled with minorities and the poor, inadequate care of the elderly. We sorely need to be healed by the meek and gentle spirit of Jesus Christ. Through the media, you and I can play a significant role in this healing. Because we publicly profess to be vocational guardians of civilizing values which nurture our godlikeness, we can respond with power to the challenge, enter the soul. The key word to describe our media role is resonance. If we believe that we are sons and daughters of a God whose spirit we breathe, then media allows us to resonate with the divine in the other. Media can help us recognize the spirit which dwells in our souls. That spirit pours forth blessings in a creative, magnificent, unpredictable fashion. It is predictable only in its fruits of justice, peace, joy, and love. When we deal with media, TV and film in particular, all too often our attention is placed on manifestations of neurotic behavior like pornography and violence. Our well-intentioned and proper efforts in the past have been countered by First Amendment arguments, and we have been perceived chiefly as censors. I believe it is right and proper that we exercise review of current film and TV fare. I also think we should relate creatively with artists who work in video, film, and radio. In the long run, They will shower upon American society a multitude of redemptive images, celebration of life, blessedness of the environment, the naturalness of sexuality, the bond of human community, and the power of truth. When using communications as a delivery system, then, we can show how powerful is poverty by being mindful of the questions I posed earlier. Let us encourage ourselves as we strive to use the social media outlets at our disposal. For us in our own parish, particularly, we will strive to be attentive to Facebook and online radio, because these two, we could limiting ourselves to these two at this point can help us be able to explore the other avenues we can reach out, especially to the inactive Catholics. The final method of evangelization will be the person to person evangelization. Person to person communication is the most elemental and basic form of evangelization. Combining faith and action, sharing the faith, is the common responsibility and joy of all Christians. In the normal vocation of family, work, and social life, we can live out the precepts of our faith through our conduct. We can accomplish the mission of Christ's church by doing the ordinary in an extraordinary manner. We can incarnate the living word of God into flesh by being his present hands, feet, and heart in today's world. When converts are asked what drew them to the church, the common answer is another person, a Catholic relative, friend, or associate whose life witness attracted them and who invited them to worship services. One-to-one evangelization is available to us all, wherever we are, whoever we are, whatever we do, in the course of our everyday lives. Each of us is called to live Christ, called to that radical transformation in Him where we encounter another human being as a sister or a brother, to be reverenced and given the good news of God's saving love through word and experience. Here in the United States, we are fortunate to have a diversity of peoples and a variety of cultures among us. God has blessed us with the opportunity to experience His incarnation in a rainbow of colors, languages, and traditions. We can touch and be touched by Him freshly and in delightfully unexpected ways when we refute the sinful, human imposed barriers that separate us and recognize each other in the power of His love. Evangelization based on that love is an ongoing, lifetime, life-giving process. One-to-one mode of evangelization becomes more powerful in a group setting. Individuals bonded together by faith, praying and studying together, telling their own journey, stories, and acknowledging the truth of God's healing presence in their lives, become pockets of Christianity and are better able to reach out to others and draw them into living, caring community. Even though some individuals are blessed with a unique charism for proclaiming and witnessing as solo evangelizers, the parish for most of us is the ground from which our outreach efforts spring. It is the parish community that nurtures, encourages, and inspires us to evangelize. So, in summary, in looking at those three methods of evangelization, mass media, using the mass media, catechesis, and finally person to person evangelization, we can definitely say in our own um, instruction and formation to evangelize, especially the inactive Catholics among us, that all three methods will play in at various points of our work, of our mission, of our evangelization efforts. So we want to keep this in mind as going forward, and so reflect on these key aspects of the methods of evangelization.